The story of James' mother is a tragic tale, possibly making her one of the best-known queens in history. She was born on December the 8th, 1542, at Linlithgow Palace to Mary of Guise and King James V. Fighting the English under the rule of Henry VIII, the Scots were defeated at Solway Moss, where James possibly came down with cholera, dying 1 month later, but not before receiving the unwelcome news that the Queen had given birth to a daughter. He prophesied that the house of Stuart, beginning with a female in Marjorie, the daughter of Robert the Bruce, would end with a female, foreseeing Mary ending the Stuart line. Part of his prediction was true, but it would not be Mary, but Queen Anne, and not for another 172 years. Mary was made queen at 6 days old, with Scotland falling under the rule of regency, and like all royal children, whether male or female, she was used as a bartering chip. Her birth looked to end the wars with England when she was promised in marriage to the son of Henry VIII and Jane Seymour. At this time Edward was 4 years old, and it would also bring a union of England and Scotland, as any issue from the marriage would inherit both realms. However, Mary's mother didn't trust Henry VIII, who had gained a reputation with so many wives. Henry also began to make more demands, wanting the infant queen to be installed in England and Scotland to break off any alliance with France. The Scottish people were no more happy with the arrangement than the Queen, and Parliament, fearing an uprising, broke off the treaty. But Henry was used to having his own way, and in the hope of renewing the treaty, Edward Seymour was sent to take Edinburgh and kidnap the child. In what is known as the Old Alliance, France came to the aid of Scotland, and realising that Mary would never be safe, she was sent to live at the French court under the protection of Henry II. But he also had his own agenda, and it would be one up on King Henry of England if Mary was to marry his own son, the Dauphin. With this new marriage settlement, Mary was 5 years old when she travelled to France, where she received the best education. She married the Dauphin in April 1558, and the following year, on the death of Henry II, became Queen of France with her husband King Francis II. It should have been a fairy tale ending, but with the death of Mary I of England, France nor Scotland recognised Elizabeth as true heir to the throne, and even though Henry VIII had cut the Stuart line from the succession, many saw Mary as the rightful queen over Elizabeth. 1560 was a bad year for Mary. Her mother, acting as regent over Scotland, died in July, with her husband following in December, leaving Mary a widow at 18 years of age. The French throne was succeeded by Charles IX, with Mary's mother-in-law becoming regent. Under Catherine de Medici, Elizabeth I was recognised as Queen of England and began its withdrawal of French troops from Scotland. There was nothing left but for Mary to return to her homeland, a place which had changed in her absence. She, being a Roman Catholic, was now queen of a more Protestant country, and although Mary was well educated, she was not properly prepared for the complex politics or the power struggle that ensued. Mary believed she had a friend and ally in Elizabeth I, and though meetings were arranged, they were always cancelled on Elizabeth's part. Elizabeth even suggested she choose a husband for Mary, this being her own lover, Robert Dudley, the Earl of Leicester, who Elizabeth thought she could control. But Mary quickly rejected the offer, and less than 2 years later married Lord Darnley. Being cousin to both queens, he was also a contender for the English and Scottish crowns. The marriage caused quite a stir and a slight to Elizabeth, who felt that Dudley, being an English subject, should have asked her permission to marry. Mary's illegitimate half-brother, James Stuart, the Earl of Moray, a staunch Protestant, was quick to rally support against Mary, but failing in his quest, those dissident lords fled into exile. This second marriage was not a happy one for Mary, as Darnley regularly procured prostitutes, but once married, he didn't have to hide his ambitions. He wasn't satisfied to be a consort, and demanded to be no less than king, with all the powers that came with the title, wishing to continue to reign in the event of anything happening to Mary. A jealous man, when Mary began spending time with her secretary David Rizzio, who also became the Queen's confidant, Lord Darnley became convinced that he was advising Mary not to give him the power he sought. Plotting with those who had attempted to overthrow Mary, Darnley insisted that Rizzio should be murdered in front of the Queen, mainly in the hope that she would miscarry his own unborn child. This had the effect of ending the marriage, and Mary gave birth to their son at Edinburgh Castle on the 16th of June 1566, 3 months after Rizzio's death. There's a grave marker for David Rizzio, being stabbed over 50 times in all, at Canongate Kirkyard. His ghost is said to haunt Holyrood Palace, where he was murdered, while others think it more likely to be his murderer Darnley rather than the victim, but it could just as well be both. Mary's last days in Scotland are full of contradictions. She must have trusted the Earl of Bothwell, and if she really was in love with him, she could well have waited for her husband to die, as he had contracted syphilis and took to a sick bed. Having fled after the murder of Rizzio, Mary encouraged Darnley to return, and with him recuperating, the couple set up home at Kirkerfield House. Mary left to attend a wedding, and at around 2 a.m. there was a massive explosion as Kirkerfield House was ripped apart. Darnley was either warned of the plot or the explosives found in the last minutes, as in his night clothes he had safely escaped the house, accompanied by a servant, but his enemies were determined to see him dead, and Darnley's body, alongside his servant, was found in the grounds, both having been strangled. The Earl of Bothwell became the main suspect, with rumours that he was already the Queen's lover, but Darnley was an arrogant man who had double-crossed those he induced to murder Rizzio the year before, and so had gained many enemies. The Earl was called upon to stand trial and was cleared of the murder, but this didn't stop many from believing he or Mary was still involved in the crime. She may have been able to overcome such a setback if it hadn't become news that she had married Bothwell. Having been married for 1 year, his wife, Jean Gordon, had divorced him for adultery less than 2 weeks before, and Mary had only been widowed 3 months. The facts here are obscure. The common belief is that Mary was abducted by the Earl, who forced her to marry him, while others think it was all done of Mary's own free will. It was more than enough for the nobles, who rebelled, and Mary was held at Lochleven Castle. It's said that while here Mary miscarried, possibly twins, and was forced to abdicate in favour of her infant son. Her enemies getting what they wanted, it would seem more proper to put a former queen on trial than a ruling monarch. Letters found in a casket in Bothwell's possession brought claims that they proved Mary was involved in Darnley's murder, though a few love letters to Bothwell and 2 marriage contracts are not direct proof, and no one will ever really know if those letters were fraudulent or not. They were later sent to Elizabeth I and subsequently went astray, with the only thing remaining being copies that don't necessarily conform word for word. After a year of imprisonment, Mary escaped, and with those nobles rallying to her, all was lost when they were defeated at the Battle of Langside. Mary could have found sanctuary in France, where she was well loved, but instead sought help from her cousin, Elizabeth I. The 2 queens never met in person, so it would be easier for Elizabeth to sign the death warrant, especially when her spies reported that Mary was plotting to kill her, and so making her Queen of England. Mary, Queen of Scots, is said to haunt many places, including the Talbot Hotel at Oundle, that claims the Queen came with a staircase that was installed from Fotheringay Castle, where Mary was executed. She appears as a misty figure, and the weeping that has been heard is also said to be her. For 14 years Mary was held under the charge of the Earl of Shrewsbury, who was married to the formidable Bess of Ardwick. These were Mary's most happiest times of her confinement, and she and Bess became good friends. For most of this time Mary was held at the old turret house of Manor Castle. Sadly, the castle is no more, its foundations lying beneath the marketplace, while what is left of the turret house stands empty amidst a growing housing estate that Mary is still said to haunt. The ruins of Armitage Castle, the former home of the Earl of Bothwell, is another haunt, along with Craigneatham Castle, where Mary stayed the night before the Battle of Langside. Those allegedly seeing her spirit have taken her to be a costumed guide. Tutbury Castle, set on the bleak Staffordshire landscape, was a place where Mary wasn't happy, as it was cold and damp, and she was made to feel more like a prisoner than a guest after being accommodated by Shrewsbury, but she is still said to return. At Borthwick Castle, Mary sought shelter before dressing as a boy to evade capture and escape to England, and it is here that she has been seen dressed in the same disguise. Elizabeth did not give Mary, Queen of Scots, the benefit of the doubt that she had been given by her half-sister Mary I. When the harsh conditions didn't kill her off, Mary was put on trial, accused of plotting to kill Elizabeth I. Although Mary denied these charges, there was not one friendly face among the commission, and after the 2-day hearing they found her guilty with a sentence of death. Mary was given less than 24 hours to prepare to meet her Maker. She chose to wear red, the colour of martyrdom, and went to her death with dignity. 300 witnessed the beheading, it taking 3 strikes of the axe, and Mary was treated no better in death, as her heart was removed and buried in an unmarked plot within the grounds of Fotheringay, while her body was placed in a lead-lined coffin, where it remained within the castle for 4 months, before being taken to Peterborough Cathedral, the resting place of another tragic queen, Catherine of Aragon. And although Mary had requested to have her remains sent to France, when James came to the English throne, he had his mother reinterred at Westminster Abbey, where she still is to this day, no more than 30 feet from her most mortal enemy, Elizabeth I.